In the heart of Arlington, Texas, Rex Brown and Vinnie Paul Abbott found themselves sharing more than just an algebra class. They were comrades in the disciplined ranks of the all-city marching bands, where the beat of the drum and the deep pulse of the tuba were their true callings. Within the structured walls of their school, they were students by day, but on the field they transformed into musicians, each beat and note a step away from the ordinary, a step towards their future. Their shared passion for music became the foundation of a bond that would eventually lead to the formation of Pantera, a band that would change the landscape of metal music forever. In the burgeoning music scene of Arlington, Texas, a hidden gem lay tucked away, known to few but destined to become the cradle of a revolution in metal music. This gem was none other than the only proper recording studio in town, owned and operated by Vinnie Paul and Darrell Abbott's father. Jerry, a sound engineer with an ear for detail and a heart for music, had created not just a studio, but a sanctuary for creativity. It was in this studio that Vinnie and his bandmates found the freedom to experiment, to let their talents collide and fuse into something unprecedented. Under Jerry's watchful eye, and with his technical prowess at their disposal, Pantera was able to craft the sound that would come to define them, a sound that was as precise as it was powerful. This studio, a modest setup in the eyes of the world, became the birthplace of albums that would shake the foundations of metal music. Back then, Darrell was not the guitar virtuoso the world would come to revere. He was a scrawny skateboard punk, his energy and spirit not yet channeled through the strings of a guitar. He listened to the first two Aussie records and locked himself in his room for a summer learning to play them on the guitar. What followed was a metamorphosis from skateboard punk to guitar legend, as Darrell's talent exploded, guided by the same fearless spirit that had him conquering skate parks. In the small-town atmosphere of Arlington, Texas, where everyone knew everyone's business, the Abbott brothers stood out for more than just their budding musical talents. They were among the fortunate few to possess a proper PA system, a generous gift from their father. This PA system became a cornerstone of the local music scene, not just for the Abbott brothers, but for their fellow musicians, including Rex Brown. Before he was the bassist of Pantera, Rex had his own musical aspirations, leading his first band with dreams as big as those of his future bandmates. Recognizing the importance of solidarity among musicians, the Abbotts offered Rex the use of their PA system, a gesture that went beyond mere friendship. It was an act of community, fostering a spirit of collaboration that would mark the early days of their careers. The genesis of Pantera began in 1981, not with the heavy, groundbreaking sound for which Pantera would later become known, but with the harmonious covers of bands like Loverboy. The original lineup featured Terry Glaze on rhythm guitar, Donny Hart on vocals, and Tommy Bradford on bass. This ensemble, spearheaded by Glaze and Bradford, was the seed from which the mighty Pantera would grow. Their vision was clear, but it lacked the percussive backbone that only someone of Vinnie Paul's caliber could provide. When approached to join the band, Vinnie saw an opportunity not just for himself, but for his brother Darrell, whose talent on the guitar was undeniable. Vinnie made it clear his involvement was a package deal. If Pantera wanted him behind the drum set, they would also have to embrace Darrell as part of the band. This stipulation set the stage for a pivotal shift in the band's trajectory. With the inclusion of the Abbott brothers, Pantera was no longer just another cover band. They were a burgeoning force, poised to carve a new path in the world of music. Dimebag's reputation as a guitar virtuoso was not confined to the stage performances of Pantera. It was also forged in the competitive arena of guitar clinics. These events, which doubled as competitions, were a battleground for the most skilled guitarists to showcase their prowess. Darrell, with his innate talent and flair for improvisation, was not just a participant, he was a force of nature. His extraordinary ability to dominate these contests led to an impressive collection of prizes: a new Dean guitar, a Charvel Stratocaster, and a Randall amplifier. However, Darrell's consistent victories posed a challenge for the organizers. It became clear that his participation was in a league of its own, leading to an unprecedented decision. Darrell was banned from competing further. He was elevated from contestant to judge, a role that acknowledged his unparalleled skill and influence in the guitar world. To help keep the band funded, Rex hooked up Vinnie and Terry with jobs at a photomat store, a quaint establishment that specialized in developing photos. Payback for the Abbotts letting Rex use their PA all these years. In 1982, a pivotal year for Pantera, the band underwent significant changes that would steer them closer to the sound and identity that would define their legacy. Donny Hart's departure from the band marked a turning point, as Terry Glaze transitioned from rhythm guitar to take on the role of lead vocalist. This shift left Dimebag to masterfully cover both lead and rhythm guitar duties. The band's evolution was in full swing, with each member adapting and stepping up to fill the gaps, pushing Pantera towards new musical horizons. Amidst these transformations, Darrell's initiative to invite Rex Brown to his studio one night was a decisive moment. Rex's immediate response to Darrell's call was a testament to his readiness and enthusiasm. The task at hand was to lay down bass tracks for 3 songs that would complete Pantera's first album, Metal Magic. This session was more than just a collaboration, it was a trial by fire, as the band sought a new bassist to replace Tommy Bradford, who had decided to part ways due to musical differences. Rex's contribution that night was not just about filling a vacancy, it was a display of his skill, fitting seamlessly into the band's dynamic and contributing to the foundation of what Metal Magic would become. Rex's decision to join Pantera was driven by his recognition of the Abbott brothers' seriousness and dedication to their craft. Beyond their talent, it was their unwavering commitment and drive that convinced him of the band's potential. From the onset, the Abbott brothers established a disciplined approach to Pantera's rehearsals, setting forth rules of no smoking and no drinking to ensure focus and productivity. However, the arrival of Rex Brown would introduce a different dynamic. Rex, embodying the quintessential rock and roll attitude, made his entrance into the rehearsal space, with a cigarette dangling from his lips and a 6-pack of beer in hand, openly defying the established rules. This bold move was not just a statement of personal freedom, it was a declaration of the raw, unapologetic spirit of rock and roll that Rex brought into the mix. From their earliest live performances, it was Dimebag's extraordinary guitar playing that mesmerized audiences and captured the essence of Pantera's burgeoning legend. In the early days of Pantera, as they sought to carve out their niche in a competitive music scene, the band embraced the visual and stylistic norms of the time, which included the distinctive fashion choice of spandex and teased hair. This decision was reflective of the era's glam metal influence, where image played a significant role in a band's identity and appeal. As Pantera began to make their mark beyond the confines of Arlington, Texas, their journey took them across the neighboring states of Oklahoma and Louisiana, playing gigs and spreading their music. Being underage, the band members faced obstacles in accessing some of the venues that formed the backbone of the live music scene. It was here that Jerry Abbott, the father of Vinnie Paul and Dimebag, played a pivotal role. Not only did he provide the much-needed parental consent and oversight, allowing them to perform in these venues, but he also lent his expertise in sound engineering, ensuring that Pantera's live sound was as impactful and polished as possible. During these formative tours, the dynamic within the band continued to evolve, particularly between Rex and Dimebag. Rooming together, Rex introduced Dimebag to the world of drinking alcohol, a rite of passage that was part of the rock and roll lifestyle they were immersing themselves in. Having access to Jerry Abbott's studio, a rare and invaluable resource for any aspiring band, was a game-changer for Pantera. This privilege allowed them the freedom to explore their musical ideas, refine their sound, and embark on the songwriting and recording process without the pressure of studio rental fees looming over them. In 1983, the culmination of their hard work and studio experimentation was realized with the release of their first album, Metal Magic. This debut marked Pantera's official entry into the music world, showcasing their raw talent and the early sounds that would evolve over time into their signature style. The release of Pantera's second album, Projects in the Jungle in 1984, marked another significant step in the band's evolution. This album continued the exploration of their musical identity, building on the foundation laid by Metal Magic. The involvement of Jerry Abbott in the songwriting process was a notable aspect of this phase. His contributions not only added a unique dimension to the music, but also entitled him to future songwriting royalties, a decision that would become a point of contention as the band's fame and fortune grew. Projects in the Jungle and Metal Magic showcased a different side of Pantera, one that was imbued with a more loose pop sensibility. These early works were far removed from the aggressive, hard-hitting sound that would later become synonymous with the band. The release of Metallica's Ride the Lightning in 1984 was a pivotal moment for Pantera and the broader metal community. This groundbreaking album, with its complex arrangements and aggressive sound, served as a beacon of inspiration for countless bands, including Pantera. The impact of Ride the Lightning on the members of Pantera was profound, prompting a seismic shift in their musical direction. The encounter between Pantera and Metallica, facilitated by Dimebag's girlfriend Rita, marked a transformative moment in Pantera's career. Meeting Metallica, a band at the forefront of the thrash metal movement, was not just an opportunity for fanfare, but a pivotal point of realization for Rex and Dimebag. The chance to jam with Metallica members offered them a first-hand experience of the intensity and technical prowess required to produce such a heavy, compelling sound. This interaction was more than a mere exchange of riffs. It was a moment of revelation, highlighting the potential within Pantera to achieve a similar level of heaviness and complexity in their own music. By the time Pantera released their third album, I Am the Night, in 1985, the transformation was evident. This album marked a significant departure from the lighter, more experimental sound of their first two records. I Am the Night embraced a darker, heavier tone, reflecting the band's growing confidence in their metal roots and their desire to push the boundaries of their music. With tracks that showcased a more mature composition and thematic depth, the album resonated with fans and critics alike, selling around 25,000 copies initially. Mark Ferrari, a member of the band Keel, played a pivotal role in Pantera's early career, serving as an early advocate and mentor to the burgeoning metal band. By taking an active interest in promoting Pantera and shopping their music around, Ferrari provided the band with invaluable exposure to industry contacts and opportunities that might have otherwise been out of reach. As Pantera's music became more intense and complex, it became increasingly clear that Terry Glaze's vocal style and stage presence, which had suited their earlier, more glam-oriented sound, were no longer aligned with the band's vision and aspirations. The split occurred after a gig in Shreveport, Louisiana, marking the end of an era for the band and the beginning of a new chapter. The departure of Terry Glaze opened the door for Phil Anselmo to join Pantera as the new lead vocalist. Anselmo's powerful, aggressive vocal style and dynamic stage presence were a perfect fit for Pantera's evolving sound, propelling the band into a new phase of their career. Phil Anselmo's entrance into Pantera brought more than just a new vocal dynamism. It introduced a profound depth of knowledge and understanding of the heavy metal landscape. His extensive familiarity with the genre's bands, subgenres and history became a crucial influence on Pantera's musical evolution. As Pantera honed their heavier sound and Phil Anselmo solidified his role as the frontman, the band's reputation began to soar, particularly in and around their home base of Dallas, Texas. Pantera's ability to sell out every gig in the Dallas area signified a major turning point, marking their transition from a local act to a burgeoning regional powerhouse. Pantera's journey to Hollywood to showcase their music marked a significant venture beyond their established fan base in Texas, seeking broader exposure and opportunities in one of the epicenters of the music industry. Playing iconic venues like the Whiskey A Go Go, the Troubadour and Gazzari's Pantera introduced their fierce, heavy sound to the West Coast. These venues, known for launching the careers of countless legendary bands, provided Pantera with a platform to reach new audiences and industry insiders, testing their appeal in the highly competitive LA music scene. Following their showcases in Hollywood, Pantera embarked on week-long residencies in Phoenix, Arizona and El Paso, Texas. The income from these shows was crucial, often just covering their expenses, with the primary goal being to make enough money for gas to return home. The release of power metal in 1988 was a defining moment for Pantera, marking the first album with Phil Anselmo on vocals and signaling a new era for the band. This album represented a significant evolution in their sound, blending the heavy metal influences that had shaped their earlier work with a more aggressive and powerful approach. The decision to self-release power metal and the subsequent sales of about 40,000 copies was a testament to the band's growing fan base and their ability to market their music independently. This achievement caught the attention of major record labels, signaling that Pantera was a rising force in the metal scene. Despite the initial interest from these labels, none were willing to sign the band at that time, leaving Pantera at a critical juncture in their career. The breakthrough came in 1989 when Pantera signed with Atco Records, a subsidiary of Atlantic Records. This partnership marked the beginning of Pantera's ascent to global prominence, providing the band with the resources and support needed to reach a wider audience. In addition to signing with Atco Records, Pantera also entered into a management deal with Walter O'Brien at Concrete Management Company. This transition also meant that Jerry Abbott, the father of Vinnie Paul and Dimebag, would no longer serve as their manager or producer. The collaboration with producer Terry Date marked a pivotal chapter in Pantera's career. Managed previously by Walter O'Brien, Date's introduction to the band was a strategic move that proved to be immensely beneficial. Terry Date brought with him a wealth of experience in producing heavy music, having worked with several other prominent bands in the genre. His production style and understanding of Pantera's vision allowed for a seamless integration into the band's creative process. The songwriting process for Pantera during this period became a well-organized collaboration that played to each member's strengths. Vinnie Paul, Dimebag, and Rex would lay the groundwork for the songs, focusing on the instrumentation and the foundational elements of each track. Once the instrumental parts were developed, Phil Anselmo would join the process, bringing his distinctive vocal style and lyrical perspective to the mix. Anselmo's involvement was not just about adding vocals. It was about ensuring that the music aligned with his thematic vision and lyrical concepts. His ability to craft compelling narratives and emotional depth within the songs was crucial in complementing the band's aggressive musical backdrop. Vinnie Paul's approach to drumming exemplified his dedication to achieving the highest level of precision and quality in Pantera's music. As a perfectionist, he went to great lengths to ensure that his drum tracks were impeccable, meticulously analyzing multiple takes to select the best segments for the final mix. This painstaking process, although crucial to Vinnie's vision of the perfect drum sound, was a source of frustration for the other band members due to its time-consuming and laborious nature. In the era before digital recording technologies like Pro Tools became the industry standard, editing audio tracks was a significantly more challenging task. The physical act of cutting and splicing tape required not only a keen ear and a steady hand, but also an enormous amount of patience and precision. Cowboys from Hell as an album marked Pantera's emergence onto the national and international stage, showcasing their unique sound to a wider audience. The main riff of its title track became emblematic of the band's identity and set the tone for the entire Cowboys from Hell album. It embodied the groove metal genre that Pantera is credited with pioneering, blending the intensity of traditional heavy metal with a rhythmic complexity and swagger that was entirely their own. Pantera's method of evaluating their music was equally unique and grounded in real-world experiences. The practice of driving around and listening to the day's recordings in a car was based on the belief that the best connections with music often happen in such everyday settings. This approach allowed the band to assess their work from the perspective of their fans, ensuring that the music they created resonated on a personal level. Phil Anselmo's role in the songwriting process was characterized by his prolific lyricism. His habit of always carrying a notepad meant that he was constantly prepared to capture thoughts, observations, and emotions that could be transformed into lyrics. This readiness allowed him to quickly align his lyrical ideas with the riffs and melodies developed by the rest of the band. The release of Cowboys from Hell in July 1990 marked a deliberate and strategic turning point for Pantera. This album represented not just a new chapter in terms of their musical direction, but also a conscious decision by the band to redefine their identity and legacy. By choosing to focus on Cowboys from Hell as a fresh starting point with Phil Anselmo as the frontman, Pantera effectively distanced themselves from their first 4 albums. Before the release of Cowboys from Hell, Pantera embarked on an aggressive touring schedule. The decision to tour extensively, playing 264 shows in the United States alone, was a bold move that underscored the band's commitment to their music and their determination to make an impact. The conditions of the tour were far from glamorous. Traveling in a beat-up old mobile home that served as their tour van, the band members faced the realities of life on the road. The mobile home was stuffy, hot, and prone to breakdowns, presenting a constant set of challenges and discomforts. Playing shows alongside suicidal tendencies proved to be a formative experience for Pantera, particularly for Phil Anselmo. Mike Muir, the charismatic frontman of Suicidal Tendencies, became a significant influence on Anselmo, imparting valuable lessons in stage presence and performance. Muir's energetic and commanding approach to live shows, combined with his unique blend of aggression and charisma, offered Anselmo a model of what a frontman could be. Being invited to tour with Judas Priest, one of the seminal bands in heavy metal, was a significant milestone for Pantera, offering them an unparalleled opportunity to reach wider audiences and solidify their reputation on an international scale. However, this venture into Europe presented an array of challenges for the band, not least of which was the culture shock they experienced. Coming from the United States, particularly the distinct cultural landscape of Texas, Pantera found themselves navigating unfamiliar territories, both geographically and culturally. The early 1990s marked a significant period of transition and evolution in the rock and metal music landscapes, with albums like Nirvana's Nevermind and Metallica's Black Album signaling shifts in musical tastes and mainstream acceptance of alternative and heavy metal genres. These breakthroughs created new opportunities for bands like Pantera, who were positioned to capitalize on the changing dynamics within the music industry. Pantera's reaction to Metallica's Black Album was mixed. While they recognized its commercial success and its role in bringing heavy metal to a broader audience, they personally found it too commercial and a departure from the heavier, thrash-oriented sound that had defined Metallica's earlier work. Motivated by their perception of Metallica's shift towards a more mainstream sound, Pantera resolved to double down on their own heavy, aggressive style. This determination led to the creation of Vulgar Display of Power, an album that not only solidified Pantera's signature sound, but also positioned them as torchbearers for a heavier, more uncompromising form of metal. By choosing to go even heavier with Vulgar Display of Power, Pantera effectively filled the void that some fans felt Metallica had left behind. The creation of Vulgar Display of Power marked a zenith in Pantera's cohesion and camaraderie as a band. During this period, the members of Pantera were in unparalleled sync, both musically and personally. The tour with Skid Row in 1992, just before the release of Vulgar Display of Power, represented a significant milestone in Pantera's career. This tour not only offered them exposure to a wider audience, but also symbolized their transition from a hard-touring band with a loyal regional following to a national powerhouse in the heavy metal scene. The acquisition of their first real tour bus for this journey was a tangible sign of their ascending status, a far cry from the beat-up old mobile home they had previously used. The release of Vulgar Display of Power and its debut at number 44 on the charts marked a high point for Pantera. This achievement was not just a reflection of the album's commercial success, but also an acknowledgement of its artistic merit and the band's growing influence in the heavy metal genre. While working on Far Beyond Driven, Pantera faced new challenges that threatened to impede their creative process. The increased partying and the presence of an expanding entourage, which often accompanies rising fame and success, began to create distractions for the band. This period marked a shift from the focused unity and intense creativity that characterized the making of Vulgar Display of Power. The demands and temptations that came with their growing popularity started to exert pressure on the band's dynamic and workflow. Despite these challenges, Far Beyond Driven emerged as a testament to Pantera's resilience and commitment to their music. Released in 1994, the album showcased the band's ability to navigate the pitfalls of their success and channel their experiences into their work. With hardly any radio airplay, Far Beyond Driven debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart, a clear indication of the band's enduring appeal and the strong anticipation from their fan base. The issue of royalty payments to Jerry Abbott, the father of Vinnie Paul and Dimebag for early Pantera releases, became a significant source of tension within the band and the Abbott family. Jerry's involvement in Pantera's early career, both as a producer and a mentor, had been crucial in the band's development. However, as Pantera's success grew, the financial arrangements that had been made during their formative years came under scrutiny. The incident at a show in Buffalo, New York, where Phil Anselmo responded to what he perceived as excessive force by a security guard against a patron, marked a turbulent moment in Pantera's history. Witnessing the security guard manhandling a fan, Anselmo's reaction, throwing his microphone at the guard and knocking him over, was a spontaneous act driven by a desire to protect the fan. However, this action had immediate and significant repercussions. The promoter's decision to cancel the rest of the show in the wake of the altercation underscored the serious nature of the incident. The subsequent lockdown of the backstage area and the arrival of police to arrest Anselmo escalated the situation, highlighting the legal and financial consequences of such confrontations. The $5,000 bail required to release Anselmo from custody was not just a financial burden, but also a stark reminder of the potential fallout from moments of impulsive action. As Pantera's fame and success escalated, so too did the personal and professional challenges within the band, particularly concerning Phil Anselmo's relationship with his bandmates. The growing distance between Anselmo and the rest of Pantera became more pronounced, manifesting in both physical and emotional separation. Anselmo's decision to travel separately on his own tour bus and spend significant time away from the band in New Orleans, rather than in Texas where the rest of Pantera resided, were outward signs of this growing rift. This period of separation was not just a matter of logistical convenience or personal preference, it was indicative of deeper issues within the band. Among these, Anselmo's spiraling heroin addiction emerged as a critical concern. Pantera's decision to use their $800,000 advance for their next record to build a recording studio in Darrell's house was a significant move that demonstrated the band's commitment to taking control of their creative process. This investment allowed them to create a space that was both comfortable and conducive to their artistic needs, giving them the freedom to experiment and record without the constraints of external studio schedules or pressures. The recording of The Great Southern Trendkill, their 8th studio album, was approached with the intent of pushing their sound to be heavier than ever before. Phil Anselmo's vocal style on the album also marked a departure from previous work, as he experimented with different techniques and expressions. This shift was in part influenced by his ongoing struggle with heroin addiction, which darkened the tone of his lyrics and added a layer of intensity to the album's overall sound. Phil Anselmo's formation of the side project Down and the release of an album, followed by a short tour, marked a significant moment in the timeline of Pantera. Down represented an outlet for Anselmo to explore different musical avenues outside of Pantera's signature heavy metal sound, delving into a blend of doom metal, southern rock and sludge. The members of Pantera initially perceived Down as a temporary venture, a side project that would allow Anselmo to express different aspects of his musical interests without detracting from his commitments to Pantera. Phil Anselmo's decision to record his vocal tracks for the Great Southern Trendkill in New Orleans at Trent Reznor's personal studio, rather than with the rest of Pantera, introduced a new dynamic into the band's recording process. This geographical and creative separation marked a departure from Pantera's typically collaborative approach to album production. Recording away from the rest of the band in a city that Anselmo had strong personal ties to allowed him to work in an environment that was perhaps more aligned with his personal state and artistic vision at the time. However, this also meant that the immediate in-person feedback loop and camaraderie that had characterized Pantera's previous recording sessions were diminished. Vinnie Paul and Dimebag ventured into the entertainment business with the creation of The Clubhouse, a strip club in Dallas, Texas. Opening the Clubhouse was not just a business decision. It was an extension of their larger-than-life personas, and a testament to their love for the rock and roll lifestyle. The club quickly became a renowned spot, not just for fans of the band, but also for fellow musicians and bands touring through the Dallas area. The incident in Dallas, where Phil Anselmo overdosed on heroin in his dressing room, was a harrowing moment for Pantera and highlighted the severe impact of Anselmo's addiction on the band. The emergency intervention by paramedics and the subsequent hospitalization underscored the gravity of Anselmo's struggle with substance abuse, a struggle that had been a growing concern for the band and its members. The year 1997 was a significant one for Pantera, marked by opportunities that underscored their status as heavy metal icons. Opening for Kiss, a band that had been among their heroes, was not just a milestone in terms of their career achievements, but also a personal triumph. The luxuries that came with this tour, such as having a personal butler in their hotel suites, were indicative of the level of success and recognition Pantera had achieved. Participating in one of the first Ozzfest tours in 1997 further solidified Pantera's position within the metal community. Ozzfest, founded by Ozzy Osbourne and his wife Sharon, quickly became a seminal event for metal fans, showcasing a mix of established legends and up-and-coming bands within the genre. Pantera's inclusion in the lineup was a testament to their significance in the metal scene and their appeal to both fans and peers alike. In 1997, Pantera released Official Live 101 Proof, a live album that captured the raw energy and intensity of their performances. Opening for Black Sabbath on their reunion tour in 1998 and 1999 was a monumental opportunity for Pantera, placing them alongside the forefathers of heavy metal. Despite the prestige of touring with Black Sabbath and reaching what many would consider a career peak, Pantera was grappling with internal tensions that threatened their unity. These challenges were multifaceted, stemming from personal issues, creative differences, and the strains of an intense touring schedule. Ironically, it was during this period of internal strife that Pantera was delivering some of their most powerful performances. Rex Brown's decision to switch tour buses and ride with Phil Anselmo, instead of with the Abbott brothers, during this tumultuous period marked a significant moment in Pantera's internal dynamics. This move was more than just a logistical change. It symbolized the deepening divides within the band. Rex's choice to distance himself from Vinnie due to personal grievances and align more closely with Phil was indicative of the tension and discord that had been brewing among the members. The resentment felt by Vinnie and Darrell towards Rex's decision to switch buses underscored the fragile state of the band's relationships. The recording and production of Reinventing the Steel, Pantera's 9th and final studio album, took place in Darrell Dimebag Abbott's home studio. Phil Anselmo's reluctance to travel to Texas for the album's recording sessions introduced a significant source of tension, especially between him and Dimebag. The loss of their mother to lung cancer was a profound and deeply affecting event for Vinnie Paul and Dimebag. The release of Reinventing the Steel in 2000 and its impressive debut at number 4 on the charts underscored Pantera's enduring appeal and the strong following they had cultivated over the years. The subsequent tour with Slayer, another titan of the heavy metal world, should have been a triumphant continuation of Pantera's success with Reinventing the Steel. Instead, it became a period marked by increasing distance between the band members, particularly with Phil Anselmo. Anselmo's struggles with heroin addiction and the resulting impact on his mood and behaviour became more pronounced, exacerbating the existing tensions within the band. Moreover, the heavy alcohol consumption among the band members added another layer of strain. As alcohol and heroin started to tear the band apart, the challenges of managing these issues while maintaining the intense pace of touring and recording became increasingly difficult. The tragic events of September 11, 2001 had a profound impact on the world, including the music industry and bands on tour at the time. Pantera, while on tour in Europe, found themselves in Dublin, Ireland, when the attacks occurred. The ensuing chaos and the grounding of flights left them stranded in Dublin for 2 weeks, a period marked by uncertainty and reflection. The decision to cancel the remainder of their European tour, while Slayer continued on, was a significant moment for Pantera. The combination of external pressures and internal strife had reached a tipping point, leading to the end of an era for Pantera. After returning home from Europe, Phil and Rex shifted their focus back to Down, Anselmo's side project that had increasingly become a significant outlet for his musical expression. The opportunity for Down to join the Ozzfest lineup presented itself as an exciting prospect. Accepting the offer to tour with Ozzfest for almost a year, however, had implications for Pantera. The perception that Phil Anselmo was reserving his best songs for Down rather than Pantera added to the growing divide between him and the rest of the band. The decision to cancel Down's appearance in Japan due to concerns over securing heroin underscores the severity of Phil's dependency. In 2003, the deteriorating communication within Pantera reached a critical point when Phil Anselmo ceased responding to phone calls from the other members of the band. This lack of communication was a significant indicator of the deep rifts that had developed within Pantera, exacerbated by Anselmo's focus on his other musical projects, including his new venture, Superjoint Ritual. The formation of Superjoint Ritual and Anselmo's commitment to this new project can be seen as a continuation of the pattern that began with Down, diverting his creative energy and focus away from Pantera. The situation within Pantera continued to deteriorate following Rex Brown's phone call to Dimebag, where he expressed frustration with the Abbott brothers. Meanwhile, the public exchanges between Vinnie Paul and Phil added another layer of tension. When band disputes spill into the public eye, particularly through the media, it can exacerbate existing issues and make reconciliation more difficult. The cheap shots exchanged between Vinnie and Phil in the press were not just personal grievances. They were indicative of the broader challenges facing Pantera. The tragic event on December 8, 2004, during a damage-planned concert in Columbus, Ohio, marked a dark day in the history of music. Dimebag and his brother Vinnie Paul had embarked on a new musical project and damage plan. This new venture was an opportunity for the brothers to explore new musical directions and continue their journey in the music world together. However, the concert at the Alrosa Villa nightclub took a devastating turn when a deranged individual invaded the stage and fatally shot Dimebag. In the aftermath of Darrell's death, the music world came together to mourn and celebrate his life and legacy. Tributes poured in from fellow musicians, fans and industry figures, reflecting the deep respect and admiration for Darrell's contributions to music. Vinnie Paul, deeply affected by the loss of his brother, continued to honor Darrell's memory through his own musical endeavors until his passing in 2018. The exclusion of Anselmo from the funeral services was a stark indication of the deep wounds and animosity that had not been healed even in the face of such a devastating loss. Despite the separation and hurt feelings, Anselmo publicly expressed his grief and regret over Darrell's death, contributing to tributes and acknowledging the profound influence Darrell had on his life and career. The interview Phil Anselmo gave to Metal Hammer magazine, where he made highly controversial remarks about Dimebag, saying he deserved to be beaten severely, further exacerbated the already strained relationships within the remnants of Pantera. These comments, made prior to Darrell's tragic death, were deeply hurtful and damaging, contributing to a permanent rift between Anselmo and Vinnie Paul. Despite Anselmo's attempts to clarify or apologize for his remarks in the years following Darrell's death, the damage was irrevocable. Vinnie Paul's refusal to communicate with Anselmo up until his own death in 2018 sealed the final chapter of Pantera's story, one marked by incredible musical success, but also by profound personal tragedy and discord. Darrell "Dimebag" Abbott was laid to rest in a manner that reflected both his passion for music and the high regard in which he was held by his peers in the music community. He was buried with one of Eddie Van Halen's own guitars, and the choice of a Kiss-themed casket for Darrell's burial was a testament to his lifelong admiration for the band. When asked by Crave Music in 2006 if there was any chance of reconciling with Phil, Vinnie Paul answered, "Absolutely not, that's it." The former Pantera drummer subsequently began work on Hell Yeah, a collaboration between him and members from Mudvayne and Nothingface. On June 22, 2018, Paul died at the age of 54, with the official cause of death revealed as dilated cardiomyopathy and coronary artery disease. The announcement of Pantera's reunion for a major tour in 2023 marked a significant moment in the legacy of the band. The inclusion of Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benante as the respective fill-ins for Dimebag and Vinnie Paul is a fitting tribute to the original members' irreplaceable roles in the band. For Anselmo and Brown, it's a chance to honour the legacy of their fallen brothers, celebrating the music they created together. The Pantera reunion tour experienced both logistical and controversy-related challenges during its run. Initially, the tour was impacted by Rex Brown contracting COVID-19 3 shows into their December 2022 Latin America leg. This unforeseen circumstance led to Derek Engerman, who already had a musical connection with Phil Anselmo through Philip H. Anselmo, and the Illegals and Scour, stepping in as the bassist for the remaining shows. The band's scheduled performances at the Rock am Ring and Rock Iron Park festivals in Germany, as well as a concert in Vienna, Austria, were cancelled due to public outcry over Phil Anselmo's previous racist remarks and the display of a Hitler salute at earlier events. The Pantera reunion tour, while a significant event for fans eager to experience the band's music live again, thus became a focal point for discussions about the consequences of artists' offstage behaviour, the process of reconciliation with the past, and the boundaries of public forgiveness. The journey of Pantera, from its formation to its pinnacle of success, and through the tumultuous events that followed, encapsulates a saga of immense talent, internal strife, tragic loss, and enduring legacy. The band's evolution from glam metal origins to defining the groove metal genre showcases their willingness to innovate and push the boundaries of heavy metal. Pantera's music, marked by the ferocious guitar work of Dimebag Darrell, the powerhouse drumming of Vinnie Paul, the dynamic bass lines of Rex Brown, and the visceral vocals of Phil Anselmo, captured the imagination of fans worldwide, establishing them as icons in the metal community.